Well, welcome, folks. My name is Reno, and I am the current director of marketing with the school, the Body Electric School. I'm here with Tom Kovach and Suzanne Blackburn, and I got it. And we're here to talk about memberships with the school as well as the upcoming membership month. So before we dive in, I want to do a bit of an intro just so you know who you're speaking to if you're a new kid on the block. So Suzanne Blackburn has been involved with the Body Electric for more than 20 years. She wears many hats, including that of a board chair, coordinator, and faculty. Suzanne has been a social and political activist for decades. She was a longtime volunteer with Equality Maine, working on 2 state campaigns to legalize same-sex marriage and heading up the fundraising auction for the annual gala. Suzanne is also a volunteer with Maine Adaptive's winter sports program. Her dedication is to reuniting the erotic and the sacred. That sounds yummy. Her vision is to reach more and more people so that they may reclaim their essential Eros and life force through the healing rituals of Body Electric. Suzanne is also the author of Reclaiming Eros, Sacred Whores and Healers, which gives us an intimate look into the evolution and motivation of healers who work with the power of pleasure and erotic energy to heal. And we have Tom Kovach, the acting executive director. So having participated in Body Electric Weekend workshop many years ago with his husband, Tom understands and appreciates the transformative nature of the work. Tom now wants to give back by offering his experience in organizational leadership as well as community and coalition building. Activism has always been important to Tom, and he sees Body Electric as helping both individuals and the human community. He co-owns a small business and lives on a working ranch. He enjoys astronomy, hiking, and listening to music among his hobbies and activities, and he is a big Trekkie. I'm assuming that means Star Trek, Tom.
Yes, and I just watched Star Trek Picard, so I'm spiked.
Amazing. So, I guess with membership coming up, and I think I want to frame this conversation in a particular way. So I'm the new director of marketing, and also I would say fairly new to the Body Electric School. And so I will probably have a lot of the same questions that those who are maybe new to the Body Electric School will have, or people who are considering a membership will have. And so I'm going to ask you some of those questions, and we're also just going to kind of keep things open. So with that being said, I guess my question for either and or both of you would be, like, what can you tell me about the school itself, the Body Electric School? Yeah, what can you tell me about it?
Reno, that's gonna be a really long answer, but I'll try to make it short. Pretty much everybody who's been involved with the school has heard that its origins are with Joseph Kramer, who started the Body Electric School. The name comes from a Walt Whitman poem. I think it's I Sing the Body Electric, great poem. And Joseph started it in response to the HIV/AIDS crisis that men were experiencing and suffering in great numbers with great toll, as a way of helping people bring sexuality back into a healthy, sacred, trusting, wonderful, yummy, pleasurable ritual, basically. And it's had lots of iterations and lots of evolutions since then. Somewhere along the line, the programs were open to women and all genders. And fast forward, January 2019, a group of people got together, bought the school, and created the new Body Electric School, a 501c corp, a not-for-profit. And that's where we are now. And our mission is to bring erotic consciousness. I'm not stating the mission statement, just stating what I know to be the mission of the school, which is to bring sacred erotic consciousness to everybody, to all bodies. And that's what we're gathering up to do. It's a pretty big but wonderful and exciting and very often fun task. And I get to work with some pretty cool people, including you.
Cool, thank you. And Tom, what about? I'm curious about what. Yeah.
Suzanne and I were having a conversation earlier this morning, and we say in Body Electric that it's not therapy, but it is therapeutic. It's a Taoist principle that there is healing energy in eroticism, and that's a lot of what our work is based on. And to be able to approach the various traumas in our lives and different lived experiences that have caused us lots of difficulty, and to be able to approach that through the healing power of erotic energy rather than through psychotherapy, it gives a whole different dimension into how you heal and how quickly you heal. And therapy has its place, but healing through pleasure seems like a whole lot more fun than healing through sitting there for hours and talking to somebody. So,
great.
And it's not just about fun; it's about that connection to the sacred. Like Suzanne said, when you start to heal, you realize that there's a source for this energy, and that is the sacred.
So I'm curious, Tom, how did you find your way to the school? What was that journey like for you? And also, where were you at leading up to you finding your way to the school and to your, say, first and second and maybe third workshop? Where were you at?
Well, I found the school because my husband and I were sitting in the hot tub one night discussing the healing power of sexuality. And we didn't have the words for it like we use in Body Electric, but we were having that discussion. We had made observations from people that we knew and from our own experiences. And so we actively started looking for something about that. And it just so happened about that time, there was a workshop in Tulsa, which was not far from where we were. And we signed up for it, and it was being hosted by Colin Brown, who used to own the school and certainly one of the lead facilitators of the school for many, many years. And it was a wonderful experience. The word transformative is used a lot in Body Electric, but when your life changes because of something you experienced, that's transformation. And both of our lives were transformed for the better. And each successive workshop that we did has opened up new and better aspects of our living that we didn't have before. And I can say that just as recently as the last workshop I took in August, there was just so many things that I learned from that on a personal level that I carry with myself every day from that workshop. And those are the experiences that we want to have others have too. And that's one of the reasons why we do these membership drives, so that we can make Body Electric affordable for everybody.
Yeah. So I have two questions for you. One is, you mentioned that there are things that you now sort of carry with you every day. And I'm interested in a couple of examples of how this work shows up in your everyday life. And then also, you mentioned earlier that there's a sort of language that you might have been using before you'd adopted the language that you'd learned through the school. And so I want to get a sense of what that language would have been and what that conversation would have looked like. specifically for people who, because I know I can relate to this myself, like before I entered this world, there was a longing and a yearning, and probably a communicating of that longing and that yearning in a language that that I'm not using now, a language that was different than the language I'm using now. So, yeah, I'm curious about these things. Yeah.
Let's see if I can do that.
Boy,
Yeah,
do that. Do that, Tom.
One of the things that I carry with me is being your authentic self. And that goes all the way back to your other question about, that original conversation that I was having with Will. And we were talking about people we knew and how they were before, for instance, they came out and accepted themselves. And there's one person in particular that I knew very well was quite an ass for many, many years to himself and to everybody around him. And when he came out and started living his reality, being his authentic self, he was a totally different person. He was happy, he was kind, he was compassionate, and not that he wasn't that person before, it's just that the wounding, not being yourself, it causes you to come out differently, to act differently. And so that's where we were talking about the healing power of sex, is that it can help you become your authentic self when you embrace it. And so that's the language that we were talking about back then. And the other thing that I carry with me is that I am enough. I don't have to be anybody else. I want to continue to grow every day, and I plan to, but I am enough for who I am. I'm a complete person. I don't need validation from other people. I am my authentic self, and that's enough. There's nothing wrong with me. There's a lot wrong with me, but there's nothing wrong with me. So that's one of the other things that I learned and really appreciated from getting from the school.
Thank you. So, Suzanne, I have known you for a very short while, and what I get is that, like, I don't really need to have known you for very long to get that you champion what the school is up to and the work that they do, and making this available and accessible to everyone. And not only that, but I feel like you live it as well. And so I'm curious, like, was that there before you arrived at the school and connected with the school? Did it show up once you arrived? Like, what does that look like?
No, I've always been in school,
right.
Rena.
I figured.
No.
I figured.
No, actually, prior to Body Electric, I was a very, very different person. And the people that know me today, that know me now, I don't bother to explain who that person was, because it's not terribly important. What's important is that I am incredibly happy now. I literally love being alive, and that wasn't true before. I think I was flatlining before Body Electric. I wouldn't have said that I was unhappy, but I wasn't aware of being happy. And there was something about my experience, and I think I understand the technology of that experience, that just opened me up, that just expanded my heart, like, for myself and for the world, in a way that just allows me to walk around with far more compassion and acceptance than ever before for myself. And it's infectious. I mean, just like fear and anger and judgment are infectious, compassion's infectious. And I think that because of my experience with Body Electric, of standing in a circle of people and realizing maybe for the first time in my adult life, and I didn't come to it until I was 48, maybe, I think. So, but realizing that, as Tom said, I'm enough, I'm lovable, I'm touchable. Wow, really? Like, that was radical, and I mean radical in like different than anything I've ever known, and radical in the way that we use the word to talk about the root. Like, that hit the root of my being in a way that I think literally changed my structure. And you know, you go to these events or go to these retreats and you have this incredibly expansive experience, and then there can be a contraction afterwards. That's just a normal phenomenon, expansion, contraction. But the contraction never took me back to the starting point. It's always been like expansion, contract a little more expansion, contract a little less, a little more expansion, and then finally getting to the point where, not always, sometimes I'm in fear and sometimes I'm in anger, but most of the time I'm not. Most of the time I feel joyful, I feel just really excited to be alive and excited for others to be alive. So it's pretty remarkable. Yeah, it's pretty great stuff.
I noticed myself salivating while you were speaking, you know. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and I was actually going to ask you, like, how has your life gotten, like, more juicy? And you kind of answered the question near the end there. But if there's more you want to say to that question, I'm sure we'd love to hear it. Yeah, like, how has life gotten more juicy?
That's a great question, Reno. So I feel like I walk through the world in erotic flow. And don't tell the people at the grocery store that, because they're not going to get it, you know. But there's a way in which everything about life feels like Eros is permeating myself and the world that I walk through. And the way I differentiate that from sexuality is to say that sexuality is like the gatekeeper of Eros, and when sexuality is blocked off, then the rest of Eros is at least compromised or shrouded. And then when that's open, then it can be expansive. And for me, Eros is that connective tissue to all living things, whether it's the ocean or a tree or another human being or a cat. So I feel like I literally walk through I walk through the world in erotic flow because of this. Yeah.
Yum.
A lot of fun.
Yum, yum, yum. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So, okay, so like, I kind of want to get granular. Like, I want to kind of get, I want to get a bit micro, and then I want to get macro. So, I know that, or at least I assume that there's, like, what's going on here is sex in a way, and also there's more going on here than sex, right? And when we hear the word erotic, right, there's maybe this sense, like, immediately the mind goes to sort of sex, right? Or there's this idea that, like, that's what's going on here. I personally know that there's just so much more than that going on here, and I've only been here for 5 minutes, right? So, I guess for the person who's wondering, like, so, like, if it's not just about sex, then what's going on here? Like, what would you say to that person? Like, what is going on here? And maybe even in a really sort of, like, pragmatic fashion, what are we up to here? And, you know, we touching, what's going on? Yeah.
Well, I don't know, Tom. You want to take a shot at that? I sure do.
Yeah, this one's for both of you. This one's for both of you.
Are
Yeah.
we talking about the question? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say that what's going on here is there's a line in an Enigma song that comes to mind, and it is return to yourself. And it is that's what's going on here is we're getting past, we're peeling back the onion and all the layers of guilt and shame and conditioning that we've had all of our lives, whether that's 20 years or 100 years, wherever you are in your journey, you have some of that, and it's about peeling that back and getting to yourself, and we do that through the healing power of erotic energy. And it's not about sex, because in Body Electric we teach you how to have the whole body orgasm. We teach you how to spread the energy through your whole body, and so it takes you to a different level, between the breathing and the spreading of the energy. You do feel more alive, and I was thinking of that when Suzanne was talking about walking through the grocery store. There's just every day you're carrying yourself with so much more than you used to, because you let go of some of this other weight of these layers that have been put upon you without your consent over the years. That's what it is for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Suzanne?
And I think I completely agree with you, Tom. And I think I would also say that it is about sex, but not in the same way that we normally think about sex. The sex, I think, that is part of our culture is very contracted and very limited, quite small, a whole lot smaller than it needs to be. And then when we talk about Eros as a way of differentiating between that, like small sex versus big sex, because Eros is literally everything. And our sexuality can either be a doorway to that expanded Eros, or it can be a doorway that keeps us shut off from it. So if we're closed and we're experiencing sex in a way that's transactional and limited and only genital, and only at a specific place and time, and only in a certain way, that's like a very teeny weeny door. But if we experience it in a more expanded way, in a way that we comprehend that this is, as an incarnated being, as an alive body, this erotic energy is our prime directive. It's what connects us to all living things. So that makes the doorway a lot bigger. So when you have, tiny doorway, you have tiny erotic experience. When you have big doorway, you have much bigger. And when that door gets blown open, watch out.
Thanks for bringing in the prime directive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom, responding to, so this is one of the things I love about the way life works is that, to speak kind of in a, as the kids say, woo-woo fashion, life will send you these little winks and nods and nudges and things like that. And my experience is that one of the aspects of being tuned, or one of the perks or the bonuses of being sort of tuned in and turned on, is that you notice them. And so there was a moment when we were speaking where I started to see your shirt, the writing on your t-shirt, and I thought how fitting, as I'm speaking about the sort of granular and practical aspects of Body Electric and what we're up to. We have this thing called gourmet hugs, and I hadn't heard that language before, but I would say I'm somewhat familiar with this sort of gourmet hug, and I think that this is one of the benefits, the perks, the sort of ripples that's created through and from the work of Body Electric in the school. You know, it's that the hugs they're not just a sort of pat on the back or a hug at a distance. You know, you're really holding someone and being held. You're feeling their breath and their chest and their heart beating. And there's a real unison and connection and an aliveness and an activation that happens in that sort of longer than 3-second hug, you know, that 10-second, 20-second, 60-second, you know, hug, if you will, right? Hence the gourmet. And so I was reminded of that when I saw your shirt, you know, and I'm imagining the eye contact, you know, that you share in connection and relationship and the meeting of another person is probably prolonged and deeper and more sort of soul quenching, if you will. You know, I'm sure these are some of the just some of the many perks of this work and these workshops and the school and the community.
Yeah, that really ties into what Suzanne was saying about sex could be a doorway to Eros, or it could be something that keeps you out. Because same way with the hug where you're basically touching opposite shoulders and you barely are in contact, and that is almost that's like shutting out Eros. That's like, let's not connect, is the message that's sending. You know, when you're having a gourmet hug, then that's the kind of thing where you're, like as you said, you're feeling each other's heartbeats. Your breath is coming into sync, and you are trying to as they used to say, grok this person. You're trying to understand who they are through this hug as their authentic self. And that's just, you know, one of the beautiful things that you get in the Body Electric weekend. You know, along with the other thing that you get is you learn how to breathe. We say, please share a breath. You know, it's the most fundamental thing in life is the breath. And that is one of the things I remember from my first CBE, is driving home and saying, oh my God, I've lived all these years and I didn't know how to breathe. And that difference creates energy, and enthusiasm and centering and all these beautiful benefits of just learning how to breathe well. And so it's just, that's some of the things that you can carry with you every day from the Body Electric event.
I'd love to, can I jump in on that a little bit? So this gourmet hug, as we've named it and dubbed it, is the physical manifestation of that when you lean into somebody with your full body. There's also an energetic manifestation, and I like to describe that as delicious vulnerability, where because of how much we open and expand and share in a Body Electric event, we learn that we can be that open and that vulnerable. Not everywhere, probably, you know, don't do that when you get pulled over for speeding, but, you know, we can be that vulnerable with our friends and with our beloveds, and really, we don't have to wear the masks that we've been trained to wear. It's exhausting to hold that mask. And when you can let that mask go and you can allow your heart to be really open and vulnerable, it's like having a gourmet hug of your soul.
Yeah. There's I'm thinking about my first Body Electric experience, and I'm thinking about how when I had that experience, and it was a taster. So for those of you who are not familiar with some of the offerings, this was a taster workshop, and it was a clothed experience. So we had our clothes on, and we were invited to connect to the breath and connect to the body. And like, I get chills as I'm speaking about it right now as well, because it was just this beautiful moment that I feel, unfortunately, isn't like the norm, in everyday life, to be so connected to the body, to be so connected to the breath, to be so connected to our experience. And that taster, and it was simply a taster, and if that's a taster, I can only imagine what everything else is like, right? It really, I found myself within it and leaving it, feeling so like turned on. I could feel myself. My body was alive. My breath was expansive and intentional, and like, the word, I can't use this word enough, yum, and it was so, it was such a delicious experience for me that I actually took it to my bed after and continued it, because I just felt so awake and alive and turned on that I wanted to continue to indulge in that pleasure, and in that experience. And I think a beautiful thing that is really important to share with people as well is that, for the person who's wondering, well, what does this have to do with like the rest of my life? It's like, your life kind of depends on it. And I don't say that in like a grim way, but it is your life. Like, it literally is your life, and it really just blows the top off of the quality of your life and your experience. It's like, oh, well, what does this have to do with my life? Well, your relationships are better. You feel better in your body. Yeah. You move through the world with an electromagnetism that, like, it's like that is attractive to people. You're like radiating. People are drawn to you. Opportunities are drawn to you. It affects your relational life, your physical life, your health, your professional life, just across the board. So it's, to me, it seems very clear that what we're up to here is more than sex. And in a way, life becomes like this sexual act, like just constantly. It's just like yummy, because that's what it is, So I just wanted to chime in there and share my, my personal experience for someone who is like, well, what does this have to do with everything else, though? It's like everything, everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. You laugh more. You cry more. Food tastes better. I mean, your friendships go deeper. You're just everything. It has everything to do with everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something that Suzanne brought up that I wanted to bring up something, or bring back something that Suzanne brought up, was that deal about vulnerability. And that is one of the biggest blessings that I have gotten from Body Electric, is to learn the power of vulnerability, which seems like a contradiction, but it's not. When you can open yourself up and trust and be trusted and have that acceptance for yourself and know that you're enough, that is sexy, that is empowering, that takes away the fear that sometimes robs us of our lives, because we're afraid to be vulnerable. We're taught to be afraid to be vulnerable, and Body Electric teaches you to embrace vulnerability. And so you're taking something that used to be a negative and you're turning it into one of your biggest assets. And that's just an amazing thing to carry with you every day.
That's beautifully put, Tom. Thank you. That really does say it. Yeah. I remember being a little kid and playing hide and go seek. I hate that game. You know, you're like hiding and there's always this fear that somebody's going to find you, right? And then my way of doing it was to finally just jump out and go, here I am. And like, oh my God, now I can relax. And that's kind of what vulnerability allows us to do, is you take that chance, you show up. Oh, I am lovable. I am enough. Oh, thank God, I don't have to hide anymore. And it's just completely liberating and connecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I've been around the personal development block, so to speak. And one of the things that I love about the Body Electric School is that there are a lot of spaces that are focused quite a bit on like the mind and mindset and thought. And while I think that there's value in that because it's all connected, what I love about the school is that there's a focus on the body, and we're simultaneously honoring the mind and the connection between the two and the connection of it all, you know, mind, body, spirit, etc. So I really just have to say that I love that about the school. I want to pivot a bit here now because, as we had discussed earlier, membership month is coming up, and for someone who's interested in joining the school, membership month seems like a great time and a great opportunity to step into that. And I would say the reason that makes sense to me is because, you know, we've just started a new year, and we're entering the spring, and there's plenty of time to sort of map out one's year ahead, you know, in a beautiful way, and should you join the school, in a really juicy way as well, you know. And so I'm curious, like, for someone who's interested in a membership, someone who's curious about becoming part of the school and part of the community, like, what is the benefit of being a member?
Well, there.
You mean beside joining a really cool group of people?
Besides that, yeah, exactly, yeah. Which goes without saying.
And there's also, you know, there's we use a lot of the membership funds to keep Body Electric affordable for as many people as possible. We fund the scholarship program out of that, and so that's our part of our commitment to radical inclusion. And because there's economic exclusion that can happen, you know, too. So you're not only helping yourself by being a member, you're helping the school and you're helping others get into the work. There's a lot of other different benefits that you can get depending on how much you give, which level of membership you're at. There's the community membership, which is only $5 a month. There's body membership that's $10, and heart that's $25. At $25 a month, not very much money, but you get 10% off all of your tuition. So that saves you a lot of money. It's a great benefit. When you go up to $50 a month, you get one of these lovely either t-shirt or one of these mugs. And plus all the other benefits from the other tiers. $100 a month, you get a free online class that you can give to yourself or somebody else as a gift, in addition to the 10% off membership discounts. And each successive level of membership gives more benefits, all the way up to the leadership circle, which is $7,500 a year or $625 a month. And with that, you get a free intensive for yourself or somebody that you'd like to gift it to. All this is not only good for you, but it also helps the school and helps us help other people into the work. And all these things that we've been talking about in the last hour are things that we want to make available.
And Suzanne, what about you? Like, what would you say is the benefit of becoming a member of Body Electric? Yeah.
Well, I've been a member and a supporter beyond membership for, ever since we reinvented the school in January of 2019. For me, I think the biggest benefit is knowing that my gift is able to help somebody else come in and experience Body Electric. And that's no small thing. That means that person gets the power of the work, that they have an opportunity to be changed. And I don't expect anybody else's change to be like mine, but there will be change. And then they get to carry that out into the world. And there's this ripple effect. So by a small number of dollars from me, I can have a larger effect on the greater world. That feels good.
Right. And I'm curious, what have you heard about some of the, I guess what I'm looking for is like, maybe one, maybe two, or a few examples of some of the other benefits that you've seen people reap from having a membership, becoming a member of the school.
Well, I think just in terms of pure dollars and cents, it pays back. It's one of the few memberships that pays back. And, if you want to walk around with a really cool t-shirt that'll make people ask you questions about what do you mean by gourmet hugger, that's awesome. But also just knowing that, you have a 10% discount, and sometimes if you want to take advantage of it, a free online class, it just pays back. It's good monetary sense.
Right.
It also feels good, when you care about your community, it feels good to give to your community. Community is about giving and receiving, and being there for one another. And so being a member helps you send the message that you care about Body Electric, and that you're doing your part to keep it there for other people.
Cool. And so I think one of my final questions would be, is there a story that you, I would say, are willing and permissed to share, that stands out to you in terms of someone who decided to become a member, who decided to, come into the school, and whose life, was transformed as a result?
Well, I've got abundant stories about people coming to events, to retreats, and their lives being transformed, and then becoming members.
Okay.
One that really stands out to me is this a woman who came to the last all women celebrating the body erotic, who wrote to me afterwards and said she didn't really know what to expect at that event. One thing she didn't expect was to fall in love, but she fell in love with herself.
Wow.
That's pretty great. And then she became a member.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah. And Tom, what about you? Can you think of any story that stands out to you?
Well, at my first CBE, there was somebody that sticks out in my mind, and he had a very personal experience in the undressing ceremony. And it helped him accept himself. He didn't know that he could be naked in front of other people and be appreciated for who he is and where he was at. And it changed his life. And that was many years ago. We're still in touch, and he's a member today. So people generally have the feeling that if you've done something so transformative for me, let me do a little something for you. And, you know,
Yeah.
I'm just going to give you a little illustration. That $5 a month membership, if everybody that listens to this this promo today, this video today, were to sign up for that $5 a month membership, that would be all the money that Body Electric needs to raise for the entire year. It's just so very little makes a lot of difference. Just $5 a month, and there are some people who can't afford $5 a month. I understand that. I have been there, but if you can afford $5 a month, if you can skip one coffee at Starbucks, please consider being a member and helping other people have those transformative experiences.
Thank you for that, Tom. That's so helpful to hear. Yeah, thank you. Any closing thoughts, sentiments, anything you'd like to share as we bring the conversation to a close?
A few things come to mind. You can leave your hat on. Membership has its benefits.
Yeah.
And give till it hurts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or give till it feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Body Electric is all about pleasure. It's all about pleasure. Give till it feels good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Suzanne. That's much better way of saying.
And I think the something that I would say too is if you're considering joining the school, becoming a member, there are just so many options in terms of workshops and offerings, and even people who are willing to have conversations with you if you have questions about anything. So, my recommendation is, if there's even just a slight nudge or tickle, with regard to the school and joining us or taking a look around, I would say honor that and listen to that. I mean, it's how I got here. I had no idea that I would be where I am when I opened that email and showed up to that town hall, knowing nobody really, and look at where we are now. And so, I think that is a testament in itself to what's possible when you honor that curiosity or that nudge, So maybe you show up to a taster, maybe you attend one of our, our morning erotic sessions or one of the heart circles, or maybe you dive all the way in because that's where you're at and you're like, you know what? I was born for this. I just know I'm ready to rock. Then do that. And if maybe there's someone that you feel particularly drawn to reaching out to and getting in conversation with, I know, for example, one of my friends had a lovely conversation with Cher the other day, which really helped him get excited and enthusiastic about what we're up to in one of our upcoming in-person workshops in Victoria. So it's all there for you. You just have to say yes to yourself and to what we're up to. So I would leave you with that. Yeah.
I like that, Reno. Just say yes.
Just say yes.
Thanks, everybody.
This is fun.
Yeah, thanks you,
Suzanne.
Suzanne. Thank you for your time. Thanks for being here today. Yeah.